listening to It's All Good, Magic, Mysticism, and Earth Medicine. Check us out by visiting www.magicandmedicine.blogspot.com. I'm your host, Dr. Candace Nadine Green.
And welcome to another episode of Magic and Medicine. It's all good, magic and medicine. So it's been a little bit, but I'm very happy to be here with you all again. And today we're going to talk about shadow work, solitude, and warding off toxicity. Now, shadow work is very important for all of us to do, actually. No one likes to do it. No one likes to deal with it. And no one likes to think that they have unpleasant aspects of the self. But we all do. And it doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't a completely and total bad person. It doesn't make you a complete and total good person either. It's just the way we were created, that we have parts of ourselves that we don't necessarily want to be our forward face all the time. We both have light and dark aspects of the self. I don't like using positive versus negative because there is no solid or straightforward good or bad. All is a matter of perspective or point of view. And it is an important, doing the shadow work is a very, very crucial, very important part of our spiritual journey. And we have to deal with the unpleasantness. We might not entirely get rid of it because I don't necessarily think that we can entirely get rid of our shadow part, our part that, may not be what we want to be our forward-facing self. But we need to acknowledge it, and that is part of who we are. That is part of our being. Recognize it when it rears its ugly head. Like, for instance, let's say there's someone out there in your neighborhood, you're jealous of this person, and you really, you can't stand them, and you're mean to them, or you think they're, especially we women, we just, pull one another down, which is very sad. And that's part of shadow work. That is part of shadow work. We don't want that to come up, but we all have the potential of going down that dark path. Now, some people, I'll get into that in a minute, but we need to recognize when it rears its ugly head. And we also need to develop strategies to be able to control it and prevent it from becoming our dominant feature. We don't want it to be the face that we present to the world. We don't want it to be allowed to be our front, our face that we present to the world. I mean, some of us do, but then what they're doing is making the shadow part bigger than the light part. And what I mean is when a person becomes or allows their dark, unpleasant side to consume their being, to be bigger than that which is light, it's ugly. And we see that manifested as racism, hate, prejudice, violence, murder, all of these things. They're manifestations of darkness that has consumed a person, that has been allowed to consume the person's being. And so much so that it has made that finding the light part very difficult. Not impossible, nearly impossible, but difficult. Now, those who commit fatal criminal acts have succumbed to their darkness, like serial killers, for instance. They've become consumed by their darkness. Now, if in a lot of psychological books, textbooks and things give examples of people who rapists or serial killers who really don't want to be that way, but they've been consumed for so long that they are unable to locate that light part of themselves and unable to make that part bigger than the shadow part. And they need help, which is why they need to go to therapy and seek some professional help, to have someone help them find that, help them recognize that how much that darkness has consumed them, and also help them to recognize the light part of themselves that may be buried way deep, but it's somewhere. It's buried there somewhere. They just have to access it. And this consumption of the darkness creates an internal war, okay? Because the light aspects of ourselves will try to surface, okay? And we must try to fix or balance ourselves in order to be a vessel or to be utilized by spirit. And on our spiritual journey, it's our quest to deal with our darkness, to do our shadow work. That is what is meant by do our shadow work. A lot of people say you got to do your shadow work. Yeah, we all do. And you have to start. You have to start. You may never be done doing it, but you have to start. If you're trying to use your spiritual psychic gifts to be a vessel, a channel for spirit. Like when I do divinations constantly. And I was not always able to do that work because I've had these gifts since I was a child. I was telepathic, psychic, a channel, a medium, communicate with the dead and see them. And also, but I had, and I've come into contact with many entities, both of light and darkness throughout my lifetime. But I could not do the divinatory, the spirit messages for people until I dealt with my own shadow work. And that took a while. I remember the aspect of time in the spirit realm is far different than aspect of time in our in our flesh time, in the physical realm that we reside in currently. And I had thought that, oh my goodness, I don't have a lot of time. I'm never going to get a chance to do this work, blah, 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 because I'm old. I was thinking I'm 44. And I started a few years ago, but even then I thought I wasn't really young, like in my 20s and stuff. But I wasn't ready in my 20s. I was still dealing with shadow work, and there was a lot, let me tell you, a lot of stuff. Some stuff that I occasionally am embarrassed by, but it was work that I had to do before I arrived at this current stop, because there's stops that are along the way of our spiritual journey. But in order to be used as a channel and a vessel, and now I'm able to not have my pores clogged with the darkness, my shadow self. I recognize when it tries to surface, and I have enough light in me and enough communication with the spirit realm that it doesn't consume me or try to take over me or make me weak in regards to going back down that path. There may be times where I trip up, and there have been, and I can feel it. It feels yucky. And then I must cleanse my being and my spirit and my aura so that I can be balanced once again. So it's important that we try to create an internal system of balance. Yeah, the darkness we have that shadow self there, that dark piece, but we also have light, and there has to be a balance. And it doesn't mean that they need to be equal, but in me, my light is more dominant. And that's because of the work that I do, and it has to be that way. Now, we have to commit. First, I had to commit to doing the spiritual work, to using my abilities to help others. And that's what, if some people who are called who are shown and called to do this type of work with spirit and working with whatever it is that you do that involves the spiritual realm. This work that you are, because it helps us all. When we do this work within the spirit realm, we are actually helping others, whether we realize it or not. We are. Whether you're a medium, whether you read cards, whether you do shamanic psychopomp, I've done that. And not because I want to do, is because I was asked by spirit to do it, and so I did. I was contacted by spirit to do it, and they showed me what to do, and I did it. Same thing with telepathy. I didn't know how to do it, but I was contacted by someone in the spirit realm who had a message they wanted me to send to of their loved one, and I did. They showed me how, because I said, look, I don't know how to do this, but I did. And I truly believe that it did help that loved one who was left here in the physical world, who was able to receive that message. So once you are called and asked to do this, you have to commit to doing it, to doing the spiritual work. Doesn't mean you have to go live in a cave or anything like that. But once you're called, and when they and let me tell you, if you don't answer, you will continue to be asked, and if you don't, you will find that you are sick, or that things aren't going exactly right in your life, that there is a little chaos or things like that. And let me tell you, that happens if you are asked and called by the spirits to start your spiritual path. And they said, look, it's time and you got to help us. You need to do it, or you're going to find out that things don't exactly go right for you. And I'm not saying that as a threat. I'm saying that through experience. I spent a lot of years being sick because I did not want to answer myself. I didn't want to answer the call of spiritual work, of this type of work, because I was afraid of coming forward with my abilities, especially with things being as taboo as they are in the world. And I didn't want that. I also didn't want to be called witch and things like that. But the great thing was that a way was made so that I didn't feel that I was, different. I met other people who had these abilities, and it was lovely. It was lovely to see, and it was encouraging and supportive, and I was very thankful for being a part of that. But also, I had to realize that I had to be okay with being alone, with not having a big social life. And it's not part of my nature anyway. I've never really been a person who's big on social. I hated, when I was in college, I was working and going to school full time while all my kids that I knew and called friends were out hanging out clubs and stuff, and they'd ask me to go, and I'd be like, no, I'm not going. Sorry. I got work to do. I have to work tomorrow, and then I got morning class, blah, blah, blah. And and even now, people are always, and I'm telling you, people will get mad at you if you don't want to hang out with them or do things that they're doing that it's not for you anymore, or maybe it never was. But, our spiritual being on this work, are using our abilities to help others, doing this spiritual work, it requires time apart from others. How can you do the work if you're surrounded by a whole bunch of people? You need silence you need to be able to clear your minds. When you can't do that, when you're surrounded by constant noise, you need to spend time in nature walks, sitting in your backyard, etc. You also need time to meditate. How can you do that when you're around people all the time? And let me tell you, I have people right now who get mad at me. They like I owed them something. Okay, I was never hanging out with them anyway, but they have gotten really upset because I don't go where they go. I don't go out drinking or any of that stuff like that. I don't. First of all, I don't like all that. I've been a loner a lot. When I see people and stuff in public things, I talk to them or chat with them or things like that. But let me tell you, it makes me tired with being and with all of that, the clubs, the dancing, and plus I'm a mom, a wife, and a mother, and that's just not me. I don't want to hang out. I don't want to hang out with anyone. I don't like hanging out. And I write. I'm a writer too, so I need quiet. I need my time to reflect, and I can't have people clogging my receptors and my pores, which has happened in the past actually. And I realized it. I was realizing why my creativity was stagnant, and I knew why. And you have to be okay with it. You have to be okay with with doing this, with not being able to be with everyone, to have to be okay being alone and with solitude. And I have, I've counseled a few people who have come to me for divinations and, divination, spirit messages, which means the same thing. And I and when I have been told by their ancestors and their spirit guides that they had to walk a certain path, I told them. And I also said, told them, I'm sorry, but you have to be okay with that, or you're going to suffer. You're not going to have all the prosperity, and when I say prosperity, I don't necessarily mean money. Okay, it can be abundance, it can be love, it can be good health, but you might not. It can be tranquility. So walk the path. And let me tell you, it's hard to begin, but once you keep walking, Spirit will show you others like you, that you're not alone. You will have these resources. We have to commit it. You have to commit to it too. You can't just be loosey goosey and just half do it. It's not that they need your help. They're not asking for you to ignore them or deny them. You have to do it. Or, don't begin the journey and, be okay with the consequences. That's what I'm saying. When we are called to do the work, we have to answer. And as I said, not answering will result in unwanted devastation of varying scales in our own lives. Financial hardships, family calamity, stress, sickness, etc. I know I've been there. And you have to be okay with not participating in your usual social events. Me, I'm fine. I'm okay with it. I think I have enough social life as it is. When I'm at my kids' school and I go to all their events at the school, I don't hide in the house, but I go to all their events in the school and I know people and I see people. My social time is like before Corona, when I would go and pick them up and I talk to the parents, and I'd see parents at events and I talk to them there, and that's it. And then I'm home, I'm trucking them around to their various activities, cooking supper, things like that. And I'm okay with that. That's enough socialization for me. They'll text me on the phone or out, stuff like that, or send me an email or send me a thing on Facebook. That's good for me. I'm good. I don't need to hang out. A couple of times I've gone with, friends I've thought I should, and we've had dinner or things like that, and that was good. And that's all. And even afterwards, I felt so drained. So I like to get home. I'm a homebody. I like being home. We have this beautiful property with a garden and woods and stuff, and this is what I need. And it's quiet and it's peaceful, and I'm good. Not everyone has that. Some people live I lived in the city where there was noise, where there was gunshots and going through my house. But, calmness, peacefulness, quiet, solitude is not only your surroundings, but it's also a state of being. You have to make that yourself. Nighttime, early mornings. There's sometimes it's not noisy all the time. Your friends may get mad. They may threaten you or ridicule you, but we must be strong and develop strategies that will help us deal with this. I strongly suggest calling upon your ancestors, calling upon the ancestors, because the ancestors really want to help. They really, really want to help. You know, a lot of people don't give the ancestors enough credit, but they really, really, really want to help us. They do. I'm fixing my microphone here. For some reason it keeps falling. There we go. They really, really help us. And you can ask them, look, this is hard. I need some help. And really mean it. When you talk to them, you have to mean it. And don't just think, oh, okay, I said it and that's it. I don't care. They're probably not going to answer me anyway. No, don't talk like that, because they will. They will. You really mean it. They will. You know, hanging out and drinking will probably no longer be a part of your life. It doesn't mean that our friends are bad. It just means that their way of living no longer suits our lives as we are now beginning our spiritual journey, which involves answering the call to do spiritual work. Okay? And I'm not talking about religion here, because I don't talk about, I'm not talking about Christian religion or becoming a priest and Christianity. I'm not talking about that stuff. I'm talking about here. We talk about a lot of esoteric things, metaphysical things, psychic things, occult. Here, this, being a witch is also doing spiritual work. When you deal with spirit, the spiritual realm, those forces that cannot be seen, that's spiritual work. People may want, we have so many names for all of this stuff, like paranormal, witchcraft, all of that, but it's a realm that we can't see with our naked eyes. We do get to we do get to see. Some of us can actually visually see. I have a late aunt a late great aunt who was able to see people walking around who were not in the flesh, who were spirits. She was able to see them, and some people have that ability, and that's fine. She's also doing spiritual work as well. That was also spiritual work. She was seeing them for a reason. Why are you seeing them? For a reason. Okay, because they want help too. And again, remember, it doesn't mean our friends are bad. It just means that their way of living no longer suits us, because we are starting to work in the realm that they may not see clearly. They may not have access to, because they haven't accepted their gifts or been called to recognize their gifts, etc. Let me just get a drink of water here. Talking a lot here. I love water. Okay, nice water. Okay, so let's talk about toxicity. Those people who practice behaviors that are harmful to our path. And a couple of shows ago, I did a show on energy vampires, which was really close to home for me. I dealt with a lot of energy vampires. I have, and I finally got to the point where I I realized that I have to be firm. And it doesn't mean that this toxic person or people's or behavior makes it bad, or that it's bad. It's just that when we're on our path, our spiritual path to do our spiritual work, their high energy clogs our pores and prevents us from receiving and hearing messages. If we clog our pores and stuff, it does. You may not notice it, but if you've noticed that, and this has happened to me, I had to do a cleansing ritual. And it lasted my ritual. I kept doing it repeatedly because I felt that I was so clogged by various energy vampires at different times. Well, there was one that really was a real toxic energy vampire. The energy vampires are toxic anyway. But one that was so toxic to me that I could not receive any message. I felt tired for the whole week. I could not do writing. I could not do my art. I was not receiving any messages, and I was getting frustrated. And I felt that I had done something wrong to offend the spirits. And now I knew that. I said, well, let me try to cleanse myself first, because all I can think of is this person's problems. And I cannot have them bring their problems on my doorstep and you just leave them. That's why I cleanse my house when people come over after they leave. You know, people who stop by to visit, I cleanse it, but people don't visit now because it's Corona. But I tried to do, and I try to do it regularly too, just because it feels good, and you never know. So there, when these toxic people come into our lives and clog our pores, they prevent us from receiving and hearing messages. What it does is it imbalances us. When we have to learn how to keep these toxic people away. It's hard, especially when they are like blood-sucking leeches. When they are in constant need of just being able to rant and rave and tell their drama. Okay. And what you have to realize, and I'm telling you, I've seen some other people do it. You have to tell the truth to them, even if it hurts. They may get mad. They may, blast you to everyone you know. But it's because they don't understand it. Not yet. Not yet. I know. When I was 19 and 20, like that age, I was a toxic person to other people. And I was an energy vampire. I didn't realize what I was doing at that moment. I was alone. I didn't have anyone to talk to. I was abandoned by my family, stuff like that. And I was alone in college, working my butt off, going to school. And I'd get on the phone and I'd spill my drama. So dumb. And I apologize right now to all of those people who, they're probably not listening because they're not. Years ago, like 20 something years ago, for my being a toxic energy vampire person back then. But I was definitely, I definitely was not as worse as some of the people that I've come in contact with who were blood sucking leeches, basically. And I didn't understand at that time. But, if you're having a difficult time dealing with a person who's toxic and you don't know what to do, again, I always suggest go to the ancestors, call upon the ancestors for guidance, for advice, assistance, and protection. They want to help. They do. They've done their own work. Okay, they've done their own work in the spiritual realm, so they can be a help to you now. No, what about those bad ancestors, the ones who were jerks? Well, they are not part of your ancestral team yet, okay? Because they may be still working on their own shadow work. Yes, ancestor spirits do work on themselves in the spirit realm before they are able to move on to the next level of existence. They can't help you anyway because they haven't done their own shadow work. So they're not part of your spiritual team. So don't worry about those ancestors who were jerks. Okay? Don't worry about them. And the ones who are your ones that are there, right, and that are there, that you're trying to get in touch, who are trying to talk to you and get in touch with you and send you little reminders. Sit down, meditate, however you do your sessions, your rituals when you're trying to contact, when you need to talk to them. And if you don't know how to, just talk to them like you're talking to a person and ask them for help. Help me get rid of this toxic person in my life. And if you believe it and you ask earnestly, it will happen. They will get that person out. Now, you don't want them to die, okay? We're not wishing death on anyone, but you just don't need them in your sphere. You don't. And help them and, wish them well, and hopefully they'll understand what they're doing one day. And one of my cats just came into my workroom here. He's so funny. And, hey, baby. So such a big baby. And they will be able to assist you. You have to have that. You have to believe it, and they will happen. Okay, it'll happen. So, all right, let's just recap here. People who are called upon to do spiritual work like divinations, counsel, talks, writings, etc. They must do shadow work. There's no way of getting around it. The work won't happen if you don't do it. That's it. You're not gonna be able to help anyone if you don't do your shadow work. Okay, it's gonna blow up in your face. You have to accept the light and the dark aspects of the self and know how to recognize both. And always remember to always contact the ancestors. Ask them for support. And always remember, which is very important, remember to thank them. Show some gratitude. Leave them an offering. Create an ancestor offering, an ancestor altar. Leave them an offering. I like to leave little bits of, cooked rice. Leave them that, because my family was big on rice and rice, beans, and all that stuff. So I like to leave them that. You leave whatever you feel is appropriate, and honor them, your ancestors, by committing to and answering the call to do the spiritual work, even if it means just walking a certain spiritual path, like showing respect or appreciation for nature, honoring the Fae people, the nature spirits. Your spiritual path is very important. Toxicity is a distraction. You need to focus, pray, thank, and most of all, be open to receive guidance, blessings, and rewards. So with that, I will close the show. Thank you for listening. And as always, you can contact me for many things. I offer divinations, consultations, spiritual consultations, spiritual messages. It's all the same thing, whatever you want to call it. It's the same service. And if you can find that on my on the website, all of this is available on magic with a K and medicine.blogspot.com. If you look around that blog, that site, you'll see ways to contact me. You'll see ways to schedule an appointment. And there is a Groupon for those who are local. Also, there is a Groupon sale going on in regards to spirit messages. So there's a cute, nice deal for a couple of months, and then it's over. So enjoy. Make sure to honor your ancestors in your daily life and continue to commit to your spiritual journey. Thank you for listening.
For listening to It's All Good, Magic, Mysticism, and Earth Medicine. Visit us anytime at www.magicandmedicine.blogspot.com.